Hi everybody, and welcome to Mrs. Tia's class. I'm here today to talk a little bit about CCGPS units and the way my reading brain thinks about them. I know for a lot of us it's been hard to get into the groove of CCGPS because, let's face it, when we look at them, there's a lot of material there and it's new. So I've taken a step in and looked to see how I would have incorporated it in my classroom, and I hope that these tips will help you. Remember, they're just tips, nothing's written in stone. Take and run with them any way you'd like. But for second grade, your extended text for the 9 weeks is Socks, a Beverly Cleary chapter book. And for those of you that are a little farther ahead of us, it's because here in Chatham County we didn't start school until a little bit later, so we're just going into our second 9 weeks. I will have new things posted over the course of the next few weeks, trying to get caught up. I'm going to do this for every CCGPS unit in grades K through 5 until we have everything put out there. But the first thing I want to show you is my blue book. And my blue book is just an organizational tool. It can be done with just regular legal size paper that can be folded and stapled. It can be done with a file folder and paper put inside of it. But again, it's just an organizational tool so that at the end of the time, everything is together for the children to take home in a neat, orderly manner. And organization, let's face it, is one of the things our kids need to master by the time they get into upper elementary school. So for Socks, every one of our blue books start with a table of contents. And that's just to help children know that when they pick up any book, that a table of contents is going to tell them where something is located. So what I did was I took one of the shorter texts, Peter's Chair, to introduce this new unit. And what we've done are the story elements based on Peter's Chair with just a little flip book done with sticky notes where the children can list or draw the characters, the setting, the problem, 3 events, and then the solution. Quick, simple, easy to do. The next thing that I wanted us to move into were timelines as one of the tasks. And what I've done, because I knew that a lot of our children, the parents may not respond with the milestones in the children's lives, so that we could do a timeline together. I did it because it was Halloween week on how a pumpkin grows, reading a story about maybe too many pumpkins or pumpkin time. And then what we've done is the children would stretch it out and they would draw that you would plant the seed, water the seeds, small shoots pop through the ground and so on, to understand the sequence of events. Then, if at a later time you wanted to have the children do their own personal timeline, my solution to the problem, if you can't get what you need back in, is that just to have the kids do it, starting with birth, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years old, all the way up until they're 8 years, which is about the time that they're in second grade. And then, have them maybe write their birthday and draw a picture of when they were a baby. Most children start to walk at about a year of age, so they could draw a baby learning to walk, and doing it that way, that at 5 entering kindergarten milestone, and then maybe the first to first grade at age 6 or 7. And that's another way to get away with doing the timeline, but not having all the information that we may necessarily need or require from parents. Then the vocabulary for Socks is crazy. There's just tons and tons of it, and it can be addressed in a couple of different ways. A vocabulary pocket that can be put into a center, and then just choose the words that you want the kids to do. And on here, like the word is mongrel, they could give you the meaning here, and even told you the page to find the word in the book, so they could go find clues that may help them decide what the meaning is. And then in here they can write a sentence using the word mongrel, or copy the sentence from the book if you'd have them do that. Half a sentence strip and a trifold, and then they can keep up with their vocabulary words very easily in this vocabulary pocket. This would be great to put into a center, or you could just assign vocabulary words and it could be an independent activity while you're doing your guided reading lesson. Another one of the tasks requires the children to write from the perspective of Socks and how life changed once he entered the house with the brickers. So I just simply let them draw a cat face, cut it out, and then they would do their opinion piece of writing right here. Another one for chapters 3 and 4 were some questions, some comprehension questions, and I just did a simple book. They split the inside, and you could copy and paste the questions and just give them to them to cut out and glue, and then to answer, or you could actually have them write the questions and then answer the questions next to it. Again, it could be done as a center, or it could just be done as an independent activity while children were with you with guided reading. One of the other short texts that they want you to do has to do with losing a tooth, and it can be any book about losing a tooth. Author's Tooth, The Tooth Fairy, I Lost a Tooth in Africa. There's so many different books that you can use with this. Don't get stuck in what the frameworks say books have to be used. Those are suggested titles. And then we just did a quick shutter fold with 4 doors. What did you notice when your tooth was loose? Have the children open it up and write about it. What did you do when you noticed that when you lost your tooth? How did you get your loose tooth out? And then what happened after you lost the tooth? And then maybe have them draw a picture of the day that they actually lost their tooth. Then we're back to socks. And I know it's crazy with CCGPS, but it's really about making connections. And this whole unit is about the changes over time as children begin to grow up and the different milestones, which is how this story fits in with losing a tooth, and how Peter's chair fits in with him getting a new baby sister, and the story of Socks, the cat, where a new baby comes into his life. Over here on chapter 5, I did a 6-word summary. And a 6-word summary is a great way to teach children how to learn to summarize very quickly, because they want to give us all the details. They're excited. They want to tell us everything. But a summary is short and to the point. Danny Brazel is the one who taught me about 6-word summaries. And a simple, easy one would be, girl who lost shoe at midnight. 6 words, everybody would know that the person I'm talking about is Cinderella. My children love to do these. They could do them in kindergarten. They could do them in 3rd grade. And A's, ands, and these do count, and they don't have to be complete sentences. But a 6-word summary for chapter 5, and then just having them draw an illustration of the summary of chapter 6. Then we go on to another task. It's another opinion piece where it wants the children, this was straight from the task, to write the beginning, a summary, an opinion, and a conclusion. And I would have them open this up. They could write their beginning, write their summary, write their opinion, write their conclusion, and then take everything they've written, and they're going to write from Socks' perspective on how life has changed. And that would go underneath here. Then it wants them to do a character analysis with Socks and Charles William. And I am not anti-worksheet. I'm anti-inappropriate use of worksheet. So if you have a good one, by all means use it. And I did here because the character analysis is a really tough thing for children. And so I would have done this one here. And it's who the character is, what the person says, how the person looks, what the person does, and then my feelings about this person. And what I would have done is then after this, I would have taken a second sheet, the same identical sheet, just like this one, and I would have hamburger folded it, and then I would have hamburgered it again, and I would have glued it to the back of this one so that when you open it up, you can have this one for Socks and one for the other character, and they're both together, and then afterwards they can write their paragraph underneath. But that way you have both of them so that the children have something in front of them to see. Finally, it wants them to compare poems. I would have made copies of the 2 poems and put them here, and then I would have them go through and highlight it. Wanted them to highlight nouns, adjectives, and verbs, and I would use color for purpose, using a different marker for each of those things. And then after that, I would have them take it over here, and what they just highlighted, same idea, color for purpose, listing all their nouns, adjectives, and verbs. Then finally at the end, it wants them to compare the giving tree and I Love You Forever. I just did a simple Venn diagram that I had where they were going to put it here, and they were going to compare those 2 stories. And then it comes time for the assessment at the end of this. Now, folks, this is 3 weeks worth of work. This isn't a day. This isn't 2 days. This is about 3 weeks. I think in 3-week chunks. If it takes you a little bit longer, you have up in about 4.5 weeks. But the assessment is that they can write an informational piece about a cat. They could write using the giving tree, or they could choose a different story. I use this as a starting point for the students. this diorama, and then they would take the diorama and the information here, and they would use it for their informational piece that is written here. And then at the end, everything is there for me to grade. Hope this helps a little bit with CCGPS and some clarification of tasks. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at mrstiasclass@gmail.com.